looking into this third year, one of the things to consider, I looked at both of these cards. I'm not sure I want the events from either one, which means, with the Romans, which means that we'll take the first one, you know, because we're not terribly worried about either of them actually either. Especially if the Adui are taking this one, we're particularly not worried, but whatever. Getting the $2 doesn't help us much. What we'd like to do is get our forces together. Well, here's the thing. I could march everything together here. Couldn't do an attack, but I could do something. But that may hurt me in the sense that, well, the Germans aren't going to be able to ambush me, so they won't attack. The Belgae can't make them attack without an ambush. But what it would do is it would, you know, get this into Roman control, and maybe I can start doing cool stuff with it from that. The problem with that, of course, is any kind of situation that I establish here, as long as the Germans are there, they're doing their job just fine. Now, this seems a little crazy to me, but I'm actually not worried about control of Gaul, apparently as the Romans, so much as not in rebellion. And as long as the Germans are there, they're preventing those from becoming Gallic factions, which keeps my score up. If they start building their own clans there, etc., which they will, that will cost me, but they do it much more slowly than anyone else. So they're kind of doing me a favor by sitting there on a big three clan space with a fort and everything. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do yet, but I just wanted to give some of the thought there. Allowed to do. As far as I understand, by the way, deal making works in this game, is I can say to the Adui, look, I'm going to use this card and the event and come in here and slam the shit out of you. And that's good for me, whatever, or maybe here, but I'm going to get rid of you. However, if you let me pass through here without taking damage, I can march up into here, and I can gather all my forces there and hit the people we're both worried about, which is the Belgae. Which the Adui might be willing to do anyhow, but the idea of ambushing and knocking off one Roman might be worthwhile to them. So putting that excess pressure on them might actually be advantageous. Now, the idea of the interpersonal situation there is kind of hard to take. For example, if I was playing in this game, I would be hard-pressed. Like, I wouldn't make that my opening salvo. My first salvo would be, look, I can get here, and eventually I'll be able to start operating against the Belgae. That's cool. Maybe you can give me a supply line, whatever. I'm just cutting to the chase here with, eventually it's going to come to that kind of threat if the Adui do hold out, so that I can kind of bypass some of the negotiation side of things that would happen initially. Because you wouldn't want to bring out the big guns of a threat right away. That can cause some hard feelings, and that might mean that you're not going to get their cooperation on other things. Card finishes off with the Dewey passing, because this card is really important to them, and they absolutely do not want the Averni to get it. In which case, well, if the Averni know they're not going to get that card, although it means they would get a full action, which they're not getting off this, they did take this action, took a shot at wiping out the Bracati or whatever, which I don't believe they can even grab. Yeah, Dewey only. However, they want to make things worse on the Adui. They're kind of worried about the Adui being able to slip into a victory or whatever. So they took the advantage of the card to move in and attack with an ambush. The fort held, though, which means nothing good came of that. And that means we have blue and yellow on this card, and the next one, Convictolitavis. Suborn is maximum of 2 regions. Crap. So that's I think the Adui ability. And the other is contest with Codus escalates. Resource costs of Adui commands are doubled. that means no matter what, this is a terrible card for the Adui. They want to make sure that that doesn't happen. Unless, wait, no, wait, Suborn may be a one region card. In which case, yes, they do want it. Yeah, Suborn's only one region, so actually that is a card that they want the positive effect of the action, or they don't want it to happen. The surprise of this card, not knowing this was coming up, the Adui were going to take this card and use it, but now they're given a hard choice. They definitely do not want this card to come the wrong way, and the Averni will not have an option on this card. The only ones who do can't really do anything. Adui or Romans place 2 allies now. Adjacent to Averni control, replace 1 or 2 Adui allies with Averni allies. The Belgai don't want to use their action on that. Which means I could pass to make sure that I get this card. Which I may want to do. The problem is, this card's pretty damn good. And resource cost of Adui commands being doubled. Again, that's going to be targeting them. Now, they're doing pretty well right now, but it might not be worth anybody's interests. It might not be in anybody's interest to use up their action to hurt the Adui, which is all it does. So this might be more advantageous to us. Adui or Romans place 2 allies and 2 warbands or auxilia at or adjacent to Adui control. We could sneak into there. We only have room for 1 ally. And I'm kind of interested in the advantage of this. So I'm going to actually pause that out and take the buck from it. And that gives the Belgai a full action with which to deal with the Roman problem that's coming at them. Shit, I think I did not do the winter campaign. Damn me. You know, I paid for it with a card, and I think I actually just didn't do it. I'm looking at where my forces are. Fuck. I'm going to have to rewind and do that, because this is a major, major factor. And we'll see if that affects any of the choices made so far. I did 2 full commands. The way I read this, you're allowed 2 full commands and or special abilities. You could take a command and a special ability, 2 special abilities, whatever. It gives you a lot of power there. But what I did instead was to do a rally, building up my forces, and then do a raid. In the springtime, these guys would have all turned back up anyway, and pull some of the cash back. So it doesn't really affect what happened here, although there are more Belgai over here. But it gets me a bigger force to play with. So I think we stay with the same actions we took. And that means I still don't know what I'm doing with the Belgai. So we gathered most of our forces. Make it easier to deal with the Romans if they want to come in and attack us directly. The problem with that, of course, is... Oops. 1, 2, 3. We're winning the game now, if it was winter, but it's not, and the Romans are going to be able to come and cause damage to stuff that we're scoring right now. Yeah, I'll bring this down too. Yeah, those areas moved. I'm just trying to decide, but one piece isn't doing much, not with this horde coming up. There's some danger that the Averni will come across here, but again, 1 extra piece doesn't do me a lot of good. And I also pushed the Germans out of my way at Alesia. This is a very valuable place for me to take. It's got three victory points, so I could lose some of the Belgian territory, and with these 2 make up for a lot of that ground. So that's something to consider, and it also gets the Germans further and further away. And some super interesting stuff. We have this, and everybody except the Belgai is in on that as an option. But the next card up is German allegiances. And as you might say, well, the bug I have first shot at it has two interesting things. March Germans from up to 2 regions and then ambush with all Germans able. So that's not going to work too well right now because of the way I split them, and there aren't very many on the board. There aren't very many to begin with. The expansion has more German pieces and a leader and all that. It's actually at the store near me. I keep trying to convince myself to go get it. Otherwise, I have to wait until the pre-order comes around or I find a used copy or something. The other side of it is fealty, where you have control. Remove or replace 5 Germanic war bands and 1 Germanic ally with your own auxiliary war bands. That's a little harder because I have to arrange control and then I can scoop things up. But I could do that. Well, no, it's not easy because if I take the event, I'm not going to get the move or anything like that. So that's going to be pretty tough to arrange to have happen. I saw that as the more positive of them, but I don't have control over any areas where there's Germans, and you wouldn't get much. So like here, I couldn't take this, and I could get some extra war bands. Up here, I could conceivably take one, or if the Germans gain something somewhere else, but whatever. Then do we grab this dude? Now, what's interesting about this, it's something that I've been thinking about a lot, there's a lot of capabilities in this game. All of them have a fair number of capabilities, and maybe they've been getting more and more common as you go. I remember it felt like a distant plane had more than an Indian Abyss. I'm not so sure with Fire in the Lake. Those are the ones that I've played, actually. I don't know if I've played any others before this. But this one feels like it just has a swarm of them. And they feel appropriate, but here's the problem with them. They're very attractive to grab, but they're hard to remember to use. Like I forgot with the winter campaigns. I'm afraid I'm just not going to remember that I have that. That would be easier if I was playing alone, or playing in an opposed situation rather than alone, but not incredibly easier. And then the Averni did a rally action. They really had no secondary action they wanted to even do. So that kind of passed them by. And that puts this here. We move the German allegiances. And Aquitania, region of Celtica, free battle in either Pictones or Arveni region. Including inflicting 3 extra losses, 1 ally, not Citadel first. That is this Pictones? No, this is Provence. Where's Pictones? It's got up here. So this is a dangerous thing if somebody was in a position to attack them, but nobody is. So that's not likely to happen. The other side, you rally in Pictones and Arveni regions, place 2 extra warbands each. That's an interesting option. The Arveni may not be close to winning, so taking turns to build up capabilities might be useful to them. So far, everybody else is grabbing them. They don't have many. So that's one fact. Belgae and Romans both attacked, took the gains that they had. No reason to retreat because there were just allies there. The Aquitania goes here, available to them. What's the next card? Massed Gallic archers. Reliance on light arms. Arveni battle in each region inflicts 1 fewer defender loss before any halving. Well, that doesn't sound good for them. An enormous number. At the start of battles with 6 or more Arveni warbands, the other side must first absorb 1 extra loss. That's not much of... I don't know if that's something, in either case, to really die for here. Yeah. Neither one seems terribly potent. If Rennie pick up that card, getting capabilities, there's a little bit of cost to that, of course. It allows the Adui to take off full action, and they take some advantage of it, hurting the Averni down here, and also expanding into here, which, that can be kind of helpful. Rome might not be that opposed to it in general. We shift over, and our next card is, we had a Mist and Mystery. Non-German faction can free march into Britannia and add any special ability there. If in Britannia, they add 4 resources. Or remove an ally or dispersed from Britannia and place any one Gallic ally and up to 4 warbands in there, which seems like kind of a powerful option for whoever takes it. And the Belgae might be kind of afraid because they're they're in the victory zone and already have are already counting these points. So this is a way that they could lose a significant amount of points, right? Removes an ally, so they'd lose one of their allies. That would be a point. They'd lose 2 points for control, and forces would go there. The Romans aren't going to be able to get there. But, any of the Gauls could slide themselves in there. And the Dewey, unless something changes, cannot, because they have no more allies that they can place. Wow, they're doing well. Are they winning? Currently, they are indeed winning the game. So we got 2 people winning. This reminds me, I can't remember what the game is called, something like Red 7 or Red 10 or something like that, where you get knocked out of the game if you're not winning at the end of your turn. This isn't quite the same, but basically we've got 2 players who are winning, in the sense that if winter comes along, it's going to be a long time before it does, but if winter were to come along right now, if it could, both of them would be in competition and the game would be over. So, that's kind of a painful situation that everybody's got to keep in mind. Realizing how interesting this card is to the Belgae, the Romans choose to do the full action and move into here, build a fort, getting themselves, I hope I'm allowed to build a fort, god damn it. I forget. A Roman ally or a supply line. I'm not in a supply line. Crap. Okay. This could have been a supply line. We're going to say the Dewey allowed it. Are they willing to allow a fort here? See, if they're willing to allow a supply line going through, a couple of units there would go. Basically, here's the thing: if I left even just 1 unit here, then this isn't Germanic control, and the Aedui could allow a supply line through and allow the Romans to build a fort. I don't think we're opposed to Roman forts, so we're going to allow it. Just trying to make nice. It kind of keeps the Romans off of our ass, even though we're winning, which is necessary. The Romans have to deal with the Belgae. That leaves the Averni in the position of dealing with the Aedui, which they perhaps can do. My little battery thing doesn't tell me the truth. I was saying this was charged, and it's not. But anyway, the point that I was trying to get to with that was, this puts the Belgae in a hard choice. If I had taken if I had taken this action and forced them only to a regular limited action, then the Belgae certainly would have passed to control this card. They're not really interested in the event here. Hurting the Averni? Nah. There's other people who might be interested in that. So I think we're going to pass anyway, because the only option we got off of it was the event. A limited command, yeah, we could move into place. Moving into place does something interesting. It puts us in a position where we can ambush the Romans, which might be highly important to us. Because if we could hit that Roman army real hard, we might be in a position where we can, get the victory. If we don't take that chance, then we've got problems. But we can't afford to give this card up. What we kind of hope is that the Romans come in on us and we get to attack them. But again, I'm not so sure how big an advantage that is, especially if we're all exposed as we are. Next card up is Cicero, or if you prefer Cicero. The Romans will have an option on him. That allows you to play with the Senate marker. Well, the Senate marker is as bad as it can be, and we're not going to get any troops off of it, no matter what, except Auxilia that we get off of it each turn. It's going to have to flip once and then move down to intrigue to improve the situation. So I don't know how likely it is that card's going to get used. We're much more interested in getting this value up so that we start organically moving it. So I'm probably going into too much analysis here of play, but the Belgae do not want this card to be played against them. They don't necessarily have any real desire for it. So they're going to go for the first faction command only. But some of the decisions they have to make. This is not the turn to move in on the Romans, because we know the Romans will get the bounce on me, and they don't particularly need that card. So, they don't particularly need to force that to happen. You don't lose the game or anything. This is as far as it can possibly go. The question then is, what am I going to do? Well, I could march and hide, and that would make it so the Romans can't come in on us as easily, which may or may not be a valuable action. And let's see. Raid, there's not a lot of money for me to get anywhere else. I can rally. I don't have a lot that I can gain off it. I would get one thing here and a couple of forces and battle. I could wipe this out, and that would help the Romans a little and not really help us much. So it's kind of a, gosh, there's a lot of shitty options available to us. But, it doesn't add that much if we add one of these. The Belgae special abilities aren't that great. Probably the best thing to do would be, I guess, maybe something crappy with some Germans. I don't know. We're going to get put in a pretty ugly place then. They can go second next time, where Cicero, Cicero is probably not going to get played as an event by either side, so we'll probably be in the same kind of crappy position. It may not be quite as bad. Well, it's not quite as bad just means we would get the option to use the event, which is useless to us. So we're going to go and take, and we do an expansion there. With the Belgae, I chose to do a move. It felt like the least negative of all the possibilities, in the sense that it actually provides me with some protection. Getting an extra base or whatever, that's not going to help me. The Romans are going to be able to keep me below the victory conditions until I beat that army. Beating that army might make the Averni up into the victory conditions area. For the Averni themselves, there really wasn't much for them to do with a limited command, but whatevers. And that puts me here. We get a new one, Titus Labienus. Okay. This is potentially potent. Special abilities can be done wherever doesn't matter with the leader. No, that means build. Build. That is one special ability. Build. Why is this spelled out the way it is? I don't know. But build is the only special ability which is affected by a leader. Oh, wait. No leader required, yeah. And the other one doesn't appear to any either. Any locations with Auxilia can scout. Oh, no, this one's within a leader of... See, I don't like that they make... that they use different locations to express that information, because then you search here, you see location, okay, it's got leader here, location, any region with auxilia, but no. Well, part of scout is affected by the leaders. Okay, I guess that's the only way you can do it. But it's painful when you're looking something like this up, because you might say things wrong. The other side is build and scout are limited to a maximum of one region. This is not a capability that I feel is terribly effectual. The Roman army has been sticking together, so I don't know how much it's been doing. It's really dangerous to split it apart. You don't want it to be weak. And that puts these guys here. Romans couldn't get a Dewey to give them a supply line. They're kind of asking for it at this point. The Dewey are currently winning the game, the only power that is doing so. The Romans ended up doing a battle here, knocking the Belgae out of here. We would have liked to have added a couple of allies, but no go. What that meant is that we refused them the option on the event, which they didn't want anyway. So they did a pass because they're going to get a first call on this sucker. And our next card is River Commerce. A Dewey trade yields resources regardless of supply lines. Ooh, that's interesting. That means I don't have to maintain control of areas anymore. So like this one would produce a buck, and I think that's it. However, the other side is bar interference trade maximum one region. That's a pretty heavy hit on the Dewey. They may not want to take the first action on this because of that, but the problem is, they plan to be able to go first here. Is this bad enough? It's hard to tell. Their cash isn't that good. Trade is one of the great ways of them getting cash up. They do need money for their subordinate actions. I think they can't afford to go first this time. The problem for the Belgae is they can't go advance into the Romans with any real great effect. The Romans can hit them, and whoever gets first strike wins battles. Again, that deterministic battle situation, I don't like it. And because I don't like it in this particular game, I'm not sure I mind it as much in the other coins. They always disturbs me a little bit. Determinism always worries me a little, but it should be mostly deterministic when you're talking about, suppressing a population or something like that. I feel like that's more of a strategic situation. This does not feel that way. This is limited clan headquarters. Movement of large armies is an important thing. Timing is an important thing. We're not talking about small bands that are abstracted beyond the level of the game. I actually think these games fall apart once you start getting big piles of pieces in an area as well. But what's being represented here is somewhat different from what's represented in most of the coins. And I think this one fails as more of a historical simulation, i.e. war game, than it does maybe as a game. But so far this is the weakest of, because of that simple factor, this is the weakest coin that I've seen yet. Okay. So after the Belgae choose not to go, we go to, after the Dewey choose not to go, we go to the Belgae. Like I said, not necessarily the turn to move in here, because then the Romans can attack. And the Romans are good at attacking no matter what, so you never want to go in. We need to change the cycle. The way to do that would be to pass, but you don't want to pass a first turn option. However, I just don't have many good choices. I really don't. I definitely want to give the Averni as much of an option as I can, perhaps. Maybe I just want to take their fucking capability away. Opponents warn Caesar's second. Build and scout are limited to one area. I don't know. Other options is the rally. That could get me one more little thing. I could blow up a blue piece. That would prevent them from winning. I really don't know. To let the Averni have the full double action by taking the event, hurting the Romans a little bit. The other option would be to pass, but we probably wouldn't get to do anything. So, and the Averni did their move and entreat, unfortunately, without Vercingetorix. They weren't able to, gain things elsewhere. Not sure this is under control anymore. 5, 6, they lose control. But whatever, what we managed to do was take it so that the Aedui are no longer winning. They're very, very easy to interfere with. Like I said, I think they're one of the hardest of the groups to win with, in a lot of ways. Catuvolcus. Remove one or more allied tribes of the same faction in the Nervi region. Up here, there are none in war bands, not Auxilia. Place Belgic allies in Nervi and Eurobes, which I don't know where that is. Okay, there's Nervi. You would think Eurobes is near that. I'm not seeing it. Oh, it's the other clan there. Gotcha. Replacing any allies or dispersed there. Add +6 to Belgic resources. Okay, so this is one of the Belgics the Belgae definitely want. And that could actually push them over the edge. Unfortunately, they kind of also want to beat the Romans. And you're constantly being faced with issues like that. Grab the event that allows the Romans to have a big move, but not much to do. They don't have the capacity to build as long as the Aedui aren't allowing it. So they just move in, take care. They can't move to Britannia because the oversea... Oh, I'm wrong. No special ability stopped, no scout across. Okay, so I actually was able to do what I wanted to, which I think I was going to do this. Or do I just want to send a bunch of Auxilia over? A Legion gives me more kill capacity. Yeah, I wanted to do this. This weakens my army, but it also reduces the the Belgae victory points. The Brigantes are a little further north, and since I'm not doing a special ability, I'm fine. It puts me in a stronger position. The problem is I still don't have the damn supply line, so I can't build anything, and that is something I'd like to be able to do. Is it a big deal? Not really. My victory points don't come from building, but it helps me maintain a presence in the area. Especially the forts help me maintain a defensive presence. All right, so the Belgae don't look like they're going to be able to win this time. Roman wine, luxury goods. Remove either up to any 4 allied tribes under Roman control, or up to 2 adjacent to Roman control. Well, there aren't a lot in Roman control, but there are actually 4, so this is an interesting event for them. The Aedui get the first option on it, though. Remove 1 to 3 Roman or Aedui allies, not citadels total, from Roman Aedui supply lines. So I guess you assume the Roman Aeduis exist as a supply line, and then you're allowed to pull some of their allies off. So that's something, again, the Aedui do not want to see happen. However, I don't think they really want the event in the Romans' favor. On the other hand, we can't really trust the Romans not to screw us over with making the Aedui weaker. They're not in the position to win anymore. Actually, nobody is at this point. Everything's kind of back into a balance. So, don't know what's going to happen. Made a boneheaded move by moving out of here because this card, and this happens. Trust me, you lose control. You lose control of your understanding of where everything is, what's going on in the game. you're focusing on the game state, forget about the events that are coming up and everything like that. And this is actually probably the way the game gets won, is somebody makes a blunder like this. The Belgai were able to grab these two areas. The two clans grabbed some extra cash with the event, and then the Averni, boom, they smashed into and entreated, taking the Adui space. Of course, that brings the Roman wine event up. And no. Romans can free march up to 4 legions and any auxiliary Atrabades, Carnutes, or Mandubi, and a free battle. Expecting that's an exclusive war, but this is how you get a trick. However, you can't move Caesar. A free march 4 legions, Carnutes, Atrabades, Mandubi. Atrabades, Carnutes, Mandubi. Okay, so I could like slip into here possibly. No, it's too far away. Yeah, this is the only place I could get to, and I don't think 4 legions is enough, even with all the auxiliary, without Caesar with it. That's 4, 5, 6, 7 hits. What else do I get? It's only on enemy battle commands. I don't get the siege opportunity, not that that helps. So I'd be doing 7 to this. 3, 6, 7, and then he'd have a huge return attack. So he would stick around and he would hurt me. And that card is not appealing to the Romans. So we won't be waiting on that. The other side of it, place 0 to 6 warbands among those 3 areas, select 1 for a free command and special ability. And that looks like that can be any Gallic faction. However, the Belgai get the jump on it. So they might do it, but they don't have a lot of warbands available to place. You could remove some. Yeah, you're allowed to remove things from the game, I believe. You're allowed to remove things off the board so you can build them elsewhere. It opens up the more standard kind of deal that you see in games, which is the Adui can say, you know what, if you're not going to hit me with this, I'll leave it open for you so you can take the event, and you'd really like that, and I'm not opposed to it because the Belgai are working their way back up because of your boneheaded move, but you got to promise me you're not going to hit me with it. This is the kind of deal that you might not want to make, though, because if it's in the Romans' best interests to hit the Adui, and it's not entirely clear that it's not, but if it were, they could then make a backstab on it. It doesn't appear to be a big enough backstab to be worthwhile, and I think it is in both players' interests for the Adui to take their full turn. The Romans aren't so sure about that. And they're pretty sure the Adui will not use this event, but they may block the event. And that's actually what the Adui are threatening. They're saying, you know what? I could prevent that event from even happening. Now the question is, what's up with this one? Would he block the event? Would the Belgai block this event? Because I could just pass and wait on this event. And the only thing I'm worried about is that the Belgai might not allow me to take it. Now, the Belgai don't particularly want me to pass here, so they're not going to make any promises based on that. This we didn't think was very valuable, but this one, placing warbands and then select a free command and special ability. One of those 3 regions. I could take things back, I could rally, whatever. I can do a lot of neat stuff. So I think it's in my best interests to make that deal with the Romans and then to pass. If I get screwed by the Belgai here, that's terrible. But I don't know how much a full action would really help me here. So I'm actually shifting the ordering here. And then the Romans are going to take the event, and 1, 2, 3, 4 of these go. This is big. Under Roman control. And that drops them by 4 and raises the Romans by 4, which puts them back into a position where things will move towards the center. So that's good. I'm having some trouble with my my battery charging situation. It looks like it's working now, it's fine, but this one didn't fill up and it said it did. And that's the general morassus. Hideout find, free battle against a Gallic faction in one free region. And we're probably getting close to winter. No retreat, counterattack, or citadel effect on losses. Attackers stay hid, or become hidden afterwards, whatever. Warrior armies hide in terrain, a Gallic faction. Free battles with ambush anywhere, then free marches. That's powerful. It's not as good as free march and then free battle, which would be awesome. And there are a few like that. But what about this one? Yeah, you have to be set up in both cases. It was not a good decision by Dewey, I think. To pass on the last turn. Because the Belgae indeed only take a command, not much, a rally, built themselves some more troops, mainly got themselves one of these, and I forgot to give myself the victory point for that, didn't I? 4, 7, 8, 9, yeah. And that takes one away from the Romans, which I'm sure I didn't do either. Okay. Dropping them back down. Now, by doing this, and I should have been able to predict it, because the Belgae, their secondary abilities just aren't very interesting. I could have done something with these. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Yeah, I really have nothing else I can do. Unless I was somehow able to attack. Now, given that both the other sides passed, that's going to shake up the ordering quite a bit. Everybody except the Belgae is on this positioning. What does that mean? Well, that's not necessarily potent because one of these isn't going to get a turn. All right. And the next one, Saurus. Doing rebel defeated, replace any 4 warbands in a region with one of the within one of Treveri with a Dewey warbands. Then the Adui execute a free command, or anti-Roman Aduans in a region within one of Treveri replace up to 4 Adui warbands with German. March, raid, or battle with them. Well, 4 is not a lot, but that could hurt the Adui a great deal down here and get the German focus in this direction. You can't really take the focus away from here, but if you're taking their pieces away from here, they're not going to grow more, so they're going to do stuff more to the south, and that's kind of cool. So the Belgae have some definite interest in this. The problem is the Adui are probably going to be the people. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not. There's 3. The Belgae are here. All right. I'm going to swap batteries again, and I think that's it for a while because I know that my batteries aren't going very well. This time it looks like it's the Averni who blundered, taking a limited command here with the morassus activity up there, and moving into this space. The danger of that is that this is very attractive, and it allows the Adui to do something nasty in that space. Because it's within one of Treveri, and that's really me walking away and not being aware of the cards anymore. Although, again, that kind of issue is something that commonly happens to me. So the Adui ended up passing. The Romans marched up here into Nervi to grab this. Now, of course, that puts them into threat. The Adui could grab their territory or their units instead. However, the Romans feel fairly safe about that. It's kind of funny. The way that the difficulty it is for me to come back to a game. I mean, I was playing earlier tonight, my whole sleeping schedule is totally screwed up. I'm like up all like from 1 in the morning until I get off work, and then I sleep in little bits, like 3 hours here, 3 hours there after work, with like an hour or two in between or something like that. I'm getting too little sleep, and I'm like, but anyway, coming up here is, and actually playing, is an effort along the lines of other tasks that I don't want to do. Now, I enjoy it just fine when I'm working on it. And honestly, there are other times in my life where that's been the case, like I'll enjoy working on programming or something like that. But I don't know. I'm not quite sure the why. I mean, there are a lot of contributory factors of why I don't want to come up and play. But I even felt it when the game was sitting in my room, where the barrier to entry is much, much lower. It's something I really need to get out of the way. Anyway, we'll keep going. It feels like I'm deliberately making mistakes here. I'm just going to let them sit because I just keep making them, and I feel like I'm kind of exploring the game space in a weird sort of way. So the Adui took their event, which allowed them to make some attacks. Now the Averni fell back, giving Mendubi back. But then the bell guy took a move action. Remember I said it's not a good idea to move in on your enemy? Well, they did just that. Now, they're protecting this to some extent, and maybe it'll work out. In addition, they spread out all over the place and grabbed themselves getting very close to the victory point total that they need for the game. The winter could be coming. They might be able to pull off some kind of advantage out of this. I don't really think this is going to work. I think they're going to get hosed by it. However, the winter does show up, which is everything that they could hope for. It really felt like it was coming in. It felt like we had a large deck here. However, I'm pretty sure the Romans are going to beat us here, and that means we're not going to quite win, so we're going to be in the same kind of position we were last time, where we're close, but no cigar. Yeah, that did not work at all well. The Averni took the action because it gave them a free, they took the event that gave them a free command and limited command. Oops. I paid for the limited command. For the command, they took something that was essentially free anyway, a raid action. They're not allowed battle. Free rally would be nice. However, I wanted some extra cash on hand. I was kind of low on cash. Yes, I'm going to get more at the beginning of the year, but I thought it would be nice to get the cash. I don't know why. And then I took the entreat action, which got me some additional forces. Got me back in control over here, which took some points away from the bell guy. And then the Romans wiped the bell. Well, they would have wiped the bell guy out. The bell guy retreated, so big deal. However, you can see they're a lot weaker now, and they lost whatever they had here. Had I left just a couple of clans there, it might have ended up that the Romans wouldn't have been able to afford wouldn't have been willing to afford an attack, take their whole action, just wipe out a couple clans. Although they wanted to do that, they got them up in value. And we are at, I hope, no victory. Indeed, there are enough Averni to prevent a victory there. Nobody else is anywhere near. The Adui are kind of sneaky. They can pull off a victory in a sneaky sort of way, as long as they wipe other people out. That's their way of winning. But again, I think they've got the hardest. The only way they can win is by other people not paying attention. However, with the mistakes that we've seen, it's quite possible. Honestly, most of the coin games, the only way you can win is if people aren't paying enough attention, or if they stop working to stop the leader. All right, Germanic. Somebody pointed this out, and I was just reading it wrong. The actual commands that you can use are over here, And they help define these, but these define the limitations on winter, and for whatever reason I was reading this column, I had them reversed in my head, and so yeah, it's very clear what I did was actually correct. You can do one of these commands, and there's no limitations on these. These are the normal commands that you have. Someone's found out what happens when you get caught out of supply. Cut off by the Germans, and the Belgae here. Their force was stuck up here, and they can't get out. They had to pay, and basically they're out of money and lost a few of their auxilia. I moved Caesar back here so they can spawn some additional forces. Go to the Senate phase. This chip's going to flip over because our points are good enough that it'll move towards the intrigue box, which is where it usually tries to move to one way or another. I don't know why. And then that's going to mean we only get 3 additional auxilia. I was going to leave Caesar out here, but this force isn't really able to do much. It's not as big as it used to be. I lost a lot of auxilia, so I want additional auxilia to come into play and push up against here somehow, and then maybe mean getting a free march through the Aedui. That puts the Romans in kind of a dangerous position. They're stuck out here, unable to do builds. They were unable to get any clans on their side, so they had to pay the double cost for everything out here. That's why you want clans in the areas you control. Wasn't aware of the full effects. I'd always been playing, so that would happen. And then let's see, some of the spring stuff dispersed. We haven't dispersed anything in a long time. Everything gets flipped back over. And everybody's eligible. We'll deal a couple more cards. Since everything's kind of mechanical, let's take a look at these. Dumb Ox Loyalists, betrayed by Caesar's informants, replace 4 warbands with auxilia or Aedui warbands. They free scout as if they're auxilia, or his madness lingers. Replace any 3 auxilia or Aedui warbands total with any warbands. Execute a free command in the region placed. Regions placed. That sounds scary. It favors the Aedui, but let's see. Assembly of Gaul. In the middle of Gaul, if Carnutes are a Roman ally, subdued or dispersed. They are not. And they probably won't be. Drop 1 or more Gallic factions resources each by 8. Sacred Spot faction controlling Carnutes executes a command that may add 2 special abilities. And then it says free. I don't know if it's the 2 special abilities that are free or the whole command. I'll look that up and see which way it goes. It doesn't really make too much of a difference. We're talking about a buck, likelihood. But that's a potentially very powerful option. I don't have to do it from here. I can do a full command and 2 special abilities that are definitely free. It's a shame I can't do a double command. That would give you the move and attack type situation. But that's something that doesn't look like it's going to be his to take necessarily. And Senate isn't going to affect this, but I forgot about the winter campaign again. This time I'll jump it in quickly enough. We're in the end stage of the game here. I did 2 rallies for the Belgae. The end stage of the game, what that means is the next winter card ends the game no matter what. So, what's going to happen is however far behind you are is where you're going to end up sitting. Now, the Belgae have a lot of troops. They don't have a lot of money at this point because of those rallies. They were expensive. Other players, a lot of Germans. The Germans did a lot of damage, especially to the Belgae. But you can see, the Romans cut off. Their situation looks pretty iffy. So where are we sitting? Well, what's done for the victory conditions, because sides have multiple things they want for victory conditions. Well, for the Belgae and the Romans, it's easy. If their points, it's how close their points are to their victory point thing. And if they exceed it, they end up better because of that. Exceeding it by more is better than exceeding it by less. Let's take a look at the victory points for the other players, though. For the Verney, they're going to take the worst of the difference in Roman legions, which right now looks like it's 3 points, and clans that they have, which they're good right now. No, they need 8. But so they're at -3 essentially. The Belgae right now, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. They're at -5. The Romans also at -5. They have the same victory point break place. For the Aedui, their problem is that they actually only have 1 value. So they have a 6 compared to the othermost. Now, the othermost, I think, is a sliding scale in this case. They can't win automatically by this, but the othermost right now is 9, so they're 3 points back as well, which means that, and it kind of looks this way, the Romans and the Belgae are not doing so well. A lot of capabilities that they've picked up, this is the time to make them work. It really is. This is the point where you have to try to set things up. Now, the winter isn't gonna. These aren't monolithic decks. They're split up into small packets, and you're gonna be on the bottom 5 cards of this deck, basically, which means there's a fair amount that has to happen. You're not gonna have ridiculously short years or anything like that. Okay. Well, let's send this one up, and tomorrow, today, whatever, we'll get a little bit further and see. Maybe we'll be able to finish this. I don't think I'm going to buy the expansion for this. It's $40. I may pick it up, via GMT sale or something, or maybe because it's kind of cheap, maybe I'll pre-order it. But I just don't feel like this one's really not hitting on the gears for me. I don't think the coin system works terribly well for it, mainly because the style of a modern coin, which the system was designed for, doesn't include massive fixed battles. Not like fixed point like in a modern system, but you don't mass all your forces in a region and get into a major battle. And it feels like there's way too many. It's not the. So here's the thing. The majority of operations probably aren't massive fixed battles, which is kind of why it doesn't really make sense. It's not entirely a blow against it. It's just that deterministic combat system, the fact that you're walking in and you will do damage, that really bugs me here, that you can predict what the results are going to be in a combat situation. Honestly, it's a problem with the system as a whole, but it really shines more where there might be massive battles that are in a fixed location, like some of Caesar's major battles that occurred. It works fine for the low-level stuff, but when you're looking at a modern counterinsurgency, there aren't massive major battles in general. Is the question why you'd want to go, say, even into World War II, Yugoslavia, or something like that? You may be pushing too far down. You may be getting into an era where it's harder to represent what's going on than it is in the truly asymmetrical, in the fully asymmetrical situations where they're continually asymmetrical. The Revolutionary War, you have field battles that are real field battles. How can that be represented properly? I don't know. I've got a lot of questions about the American Revolution one. That one scares me a lot. This one's not quite as frightening on concept, which is why I tried this. Not so sure with Pendragon. There are some major battles in that era as well, at least in. Well, we'll see. I don't know how fantasy-based it is one of the big questions. When you name a game after somebody who may or may not even be a historical character, you feel like it's gonna be stretching things a little bit, And if you're looking at the Arthurian cycle, there are a lot of major battles in that, a lot of real field battles, and that's gonna hurt me in terms of my ability to believe the system quite as much and to feel as much that I'm playing a war game. With the more modern ones, and especially with Andy and Abyss, to tell you the truth, I have felt like I'm dealing with something that really is just a counterinsurgency. There aren't these major military operations of the same nature. Now, that may be because I don't know very much about the Colombian drug wars. The same critique might work just as well against some of the modern stuff, you know. But like Tet was not like a battle in one location. Tet was this massive, and all the offensives that were taking place on either side in, say, the Vietnam era, they were all very, it fits to do them in this abstract sort of style. I don't feel like that makes quite the same sense when you're talking about something like this. I don't know. If it is going to be, so I don't mind an abstraction and an area movement and all that. It just feels like you throw determinism in there too, where you can figure out exactly what effect you're going to have, and you're just stripping too much of the variability that a real combat situation would have. And I don't know. You know, the variability's in the cards, but it just doesn't feel like enough in this one. Anyway, I'll send this up.